Hello, welcome to GH Addition. In our previous lesson, we spoke about fractions. We found out what fractions are. We looked at the various types of fractions. Then we looked at operations with fractions, that is, addition, subtraction, division, and multiplication. In this lesson, we would want to look at how to convert one form of a type of fraction to the other. Then we look at operations involving various symbols or signs. That is in a calculation where you have addition and say multiplication in the same calculation. Then we'll look at story problems. Alright. Now for example, you can be given 2 whole number 1/3 and we expected to convert it into an unmixed fraction. This is mixed because there's a whole number and a fraction portion. So if you want to change it to a regular fraction, this is what happens. You first multiply the denominator 3 by the number 2. 3 by 2 is 6. Write it somewhere. Then you add it to the top number, that is 1, making it 7. So you have 7 for a numerator over the original denominator, which is 3. Let's look at another example. 3 whole number 1/4. Now, if you want to convert this to a regular fraction without a whole number, you first multiply this 4 by 3. 3 by 4 is 12. Then you add this 12 way to the 1. 12 plus 1 is for 13. So that becomes the numerator and then the denominator of 4. So this is how to convert one mixed fraction into a regular fraction. However, you should see that these are improper fractions because the numerator is bigger than the denominator. That's how to convert mixed fraction to a regular fraction. Now, you can also convert an improper fraction to a mixed fraction. So let's use examples. If I give you 7/4 and I ask you to convert it to a mixed fraction, your first step will be to find out how many times the denominator 4 can go into the number 7, that's the numerator. So the denominator, how many times the denominator can go into the numerator. So 4 goes into 7 only once. To go into 7 only once. And then when it goes into 7 only once, you'll be left with what will be a remainder of what? 3 over the denominator of 4. So 4 goes into 7 1, then remainder 3 over the denominator of 4. Let's look at another one. 6/5. Now, how many times can 5 go into 6? Certainly it is 1. And when 5 goes into 6, what is the remainder? What is left after the 5 has gone into the 6? You have a remainder of 1. So 1 over the denominator of 5. Let's take a last one. 17/6. Now how many times can 6 go into 17? 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times 3 is 18. It means that 6 can go into 17 only 2 times. If you make it 3 times, it is past the 17. So 6 goes into 17 two times. That gives you 12. Now if it goes into 17 times 2 times and it gives you 12, then the remainder from 12 to 17 is what? 5. So how many times does 6 go into 17? 2. So 2 whole number, remainder 5 over 6. That is converting an improper fraction to a mixed fraction. Let's move on. Now, there are times that you have a fraction which you would need to reduce to the lowest form. Lowest form. So if I give you, say, 8 over 10, realize that 8 can be divided by 2 and 10 can also be divided by 2. So in this type, you need to reduce to the lowest form. So 2 goes into 8 is 4 times, and 2 goes into 10 is 5 times. So the lowest form is 4 over 5. 16 over 20. 2 goes here, 8. 2 goes here, 10. Still 8 and 10 can be divided. So 2 goes here, 4. The same 2 goes here, 5. So the answer is 4 over 5. That's reducing a fraction to its lowest form. Let's take another example. Now, in this example, you have 21 over 28. Now, you first look for a common number that can divide 21 and same number that can divide 28. 7 is common. 7 goes into 21 is 3 times. 7 goes into 28 is 4 times. So the outcome is 3 over 4. So try your hands on series of such. Let's move on. Now move on to what we call BODMAS. BODMAS is a simplified form of solving a series of fractions with different signs. So, for example, if I give you 2 over 3 plus 1 over 4 times 6 over 8. Now, one person can choose to solve from the addition sign portion. Another one would also choose to solve from the multiplication sign portion. And that's the essence of BODMAS. So that we would all solve in the particular pattern or succession. We all know that we have to do this one before we do the next one, so that all mathematical calculations in that form will have the same answer. Now, in doing such calculations, we employ the acronym BODMAS, where the B means brackets, O means of where of is multiplication, D means division, the M again means multiplication, A means addition, and then S means subtraction. So if you are solving an expression with different signs, you go about it in this form: the brackets first, and then the off, then the division. If there's a division, if there's none, you jump to multiplication. If there's none, you jump to addition. If there's none, then you jump to subtraction. So in this question, we do not have brackets. We do not have of. Of is actually OF, and there's no OF or of in this. We do not have D for division, but we have M for multiplication. Now, if M is for multiplication, we have to solve the multiplication portion of this equation first. So, looking at 1 over 4 times 6 over 8. 2 can divide 4 into 2. 2 can divide 6 into 3. There's nothing more that can divide. So, in effect, you'd have 1 times 3, which is 3, over 2 times 8, which is 16. Then you add on the earlier portion, that is 2 over 3. So you have 2 over 3 plus 3 over 16. Now at this point, you have only one sign left, and the sign is addition. And remember, we said that when you have addition sign, you write an LCM, you find an LCM. So our first step will be to find the LCM for 3 and 16. The easiest that comes to mind is 3 times 16. That is 48. So 3 goes into 48 is 16. 16 times 2 is 32. Plus, the next thing is 16 into 48 is 3. 3 times 3 is 9. So we continue. So 32 plus 9 is 41 for the numerator, and the denominator will remain 48. That is for this calculation. Okay, so we continue with this question. We have 3 over 5 plus one whole number 2 over 4, then a bracket opened, 1 over 3 minus 1 over 6, the bracket closed. Now, in this question, we certainly would need the BODMAS, brackets of division, multiplication, addition, and then subtraction. Now, in BODMAS, the first letter is B, which is a bracket, meaning that we have to solve the concern of this bracket first. Now, in this bracket, we have 1 over 3 minus 1 over 6. And you are aware that if you are adding or subtracting, your first step is to write or look for an LCM. So we draw the line for the LCM. Now, the denominator of 3 and the denominator of 6, what is the common factor? Or what is the least common multiple? That is 6. Now, 3 goes into 6 how many times? 2 times. Then you multiply by the top. So 2 times 1 is 2. Then 6 goes into 6 is 1s. And multiply that one 2 by the top. So 1 times 1 is 1. However, the sign in between them is subtraction. So 1 times 1 is 1. Now, still we have our brackets intact because we've not finished the calculation there. Now let's look at this one, because you have to bring all of them down to that step. So one whole number 2 over 4, we can at this point convert it to its improper fraction. And like we learned earlier, 4 times 1 is 4 plus 2 is 6. So we have 6 over 4, representing the one whole number 2 over 4. Then we bring down the 3 over 5. Okay, now let's go back to our brackets. We have 2 minus 1 for the numerator. 2 minus 1 is 1. So it will be 1 over 6. Now, bracket in itself is times. That is multiplication. So, you are aware that if you are adding or subtracting, your first step is to write or look for an LCM. So we draw the line for the LCM. Now the denominator of 3 and the denominator of 6, what is the common factor? What is the least common multiple? That is 6. Now 3 goes into 6 how many times? 2 times. Then you multiply by the top. So 2 times 1 is 2. Then 6 goes into 6 is 1. And multiply that one too by the top. So 1 times 1 is 1. However, the sign in between them is subtraction. So 1 times 1 is 1. Now, still we have our brackets intact because we've not finished the calculation there. Now let's look at this one because you have to bring all of them down to that step. So 1 whole number 2 over 4, we can at this point convert it to its improper fraction. And like we learned earlier, 4 times 1 is 4 plus 2 is 6. So we have 6 over 4 representing the 1 whole number 2 over 4. Then we bring down the 3 over 5. Okay, now let's go back to our brackets. We have 2 minus 1 for the numerator. 2 minus 1 is 1. So it will be 1 over 6. Now bracket in itself is times, that is multiplication. So you can have your brackets still on the 1 over 6, then 6 over 4, then plus 3 over 5. Now like I said, the bracket still stands as multiplication. So at this point, you can treat it as a multiplication. What we have here is the same as having 6 over 4 times 1 over 6. So I can cancel this with that, leaving 1 over 4. The same way you can deal with the bracket directly by cancel this 6, I cancel that 6. Then you have 1 over 4. So in effect, this is what you have left. 3 over 5 plus 1 over 4. You are supposed to solve this one to completion. Okay, so let's solve that one. So we're left with 3 over 5 plus 1 over 4. And you know for addition and subtraction, your first step is find the LCM. The least common multiple, that's the LCM for 5 and 4, is 20. 20. Now 5 goes into 20 how many times? That is 4 times. 4 times the numerator, that is times 3, is 12. Plus, then 4 goes into 20. 5 times. 5 times the numerator of 1 is 5. So for the numerator you have 12 plus 5, that is 17 over 20. So this is the outcome for that board mass we did earlier. Now let's look at this question. We have 1 over 2 of 16 over 25 plus 8 over 5. If you are going according to the rule of board mass, we are supposed to deal with brackets first. There's no bracket, so we move on to the next letter, that is off. O board, B-O-D. So off. So this is the off. So we are going to deal with the off portion of this question. Now off means multiplication. So 1 over 2 of 16 over 25. Now 2 can cancel 16 to give you 8. Then let's complete the other half of the question. You have 8 over 5. Now if you are dealing with the off portion, which we did started earlier, we would have 1 times 8. That is 8 over, there's 1 here, 1 times 25. That is 25 plus 8 over 5. Now let me squeeze it here. For 25 and 5, for 25 and 5, the LCM is certainly 25. Now 25 goes into 25 is 1. Then 1 times this 8 is 8 plus Then this 5 goes into 25 is 5. And the 5 times the top number 8 is 40. So we have 48 over 25. 48 over 25. Now, this is an improper fraction, so we try and resolve it. How many times will 25 go into 48? 1. If it goes into it 2, then the number has to be above 50 or 50. So it can go into it 1. When it goes into it once, you will left with 23. So it's one whole number, 23 over 25. That's the answer for this computation. So at this point, I would pause here. Yes, I'm pausing. And then try your hands on the following questions. So let's see how you're able to fare in solving these questions. Thank you.